Hello, I'm Miguel Foze, and today let's talk about why I'm going to be voting the way I am, or at least almost assuredly going to be voting the way I am. In some regards, you could also call this a walk away video, but I was never officially considered myself a Democrat. Starters, I think the best way to go about it is to just go from where I first started voting, explain my reasoning for each election, and then let's talk about this current election. Now, 2004 was the first presidential election that I voted. And I voted for, was it John Kerry? I think it was. I really didn't pay any attention to the politics at all. I didn't like Bush getting into the war in Iraq. Afghanistan, I understood, but I didn't think it should have been a very long term thing. We probably should have gone, but this was still 2004, so it's like, yeah, we should probably start working to get out of Afghanistan, but we definitely shouldn't have gotten to Iraq. But for the most part, I was voting John Kerry not because of any policy, but because I was a young person in a blue state, and young people are supposed to vote blue, so I voted John Kerry. I voted the Democrat. 2008, it was actually a lot more nuanced. Um, I forget who the main component against McCain was, but my priorities for who I would vote for when it was like the last four would have been Hillary Clinton, John McCain, then Barack Obama, then whoever was the other major Republican candidate. When Hillary dropped out, it was between McCain and Obama. I actually liked McCain better. I still think John McCain would have been a better president than Barack Obama. McCain was a lot more experienced, and not only that, he had a history of working across the aisle. He was a part of, what was it, like the Super 14 or whatever they were called, of like seven Democratic senators and seven Republican senators that really incorporated what politics actually meant, which was, if you agree to kill this bill, I will help you pass that bill. So it's basically a bunch of senators who will work across the aisle so that they're both getting what they want. And I'm all for stuff like that. And McCain was one of those. Barack Obama, I will freely admit, was far more charismatic, so he would be the better diplomat of the two, but he lacked experience. I did not think he had the experience necessary to be president. But again, I think we should have probably been getting out of Afghanistan and Iraq, and then Barack Obama brought in Joe Biden, which was someone with experience. So my main complaint for Obama was at least partially mitigated. And John McCain brought in Sarah Palin, who I really didn't like. And so ultimately, my main complaint for Obama was mostly mitigated, and then I got a new complaint for McCain, so I ended up voting for Obama in 2008. 2012, I did not like. At this point, it is pretty much, I should say, I always vote against whichever party since then, on whichever party pisses me off the least. I will vote for whoever pisses me off the least. 2012, I did not like how the Republican Party became the party of no. I did not like the Tea Party. I felt they were a radical movement that would lead the country into ruin over common logic. That it was more important that taxes are never raised than having the country function. I did not approve of that. On top of that, things were going fairly good in my life, so I voted for Obama in 2012. So let's go to 2016. I was actually very much on the fence. I really didn't like either candidate. In my opinion, the 2016 president was the choice between a corrupt, unlikable, arrogant blowhard and an idiot with absolutely no experience and no filter. But things were going well, so if Hillary was elected, I was expecting pretty much 4 more years of what we already had. So, devil you know. On top of that, the Republican obsession over Benghazi also I did not approve of. The year and a half obsession with Benghazi. That's like, okay, this conspiracy theory. Oh, what about this? And then they wouldn't shut up about it. And I didn't like them for that. So, those two things meant I voted for Hillary in 2016. And I think it is also important to note in all the off elections, I did vote in them too. And I voted pretty much Democrat across the board in each of those elections. So 2006, I voted the Democrat. 2010, I voted all the Democrat stuff. 2014 and 2018, I voted all Democrat. So from 2004 to 2018, the only Republican I had ever actually even considered voting for was John McCain. So let's go over the last 4 years of this candidacy for for this presidential election. Okay, I did not like the year and a half for Benghazi. So naturally, I really don't like the 4+ years of Russiagate. So that's a point in favor of the Republicans. Um, the obsession of the left regarding, well, if you watch my first video, one of the things that's most important to me is the ability to speak my mind. I like having a conversation. One of the most annoying things is no, you're not allowed to talk about that. The left wants to get rid of your ability to say what you want. You have the cancel culture. If you don't, they frame it under hate speech, but really what it is I want the ability to arrest you for saying things I don't like. I do not approve of that. That's a point in favor of the Republicans because the Democrats do not really seem to show any sense of actually resisting that. I strongly disapprove of hate speech laws. I'm okay with them in concept, but in practice, I'm 100% against them. Um, let's see what else. So that's already 2 points in the Republicans' favor. On top of that, we had a record economy and record unemployment. So yeah, those were also points in Trump's favor. So as of this time last year, I was very much leaning towards, well, I was under the opinion of I am most likely going to vote for, I am likely to vote for Trump, but it's still a year left. So we'll see who the Democrats pick and what happens. But I am leaning towards voting Trump. And then the impeachment happened. And the Democrats threw, well, the Russiagate conspiracy was proven false, even though we're still going on about it. So we're going to do another bullshit conspiracy and top it off to sort of try and raise more hate. It's like, no, this is bullshit. And it was pretty much because of the impeachment, it went from I'm going to vote, most likely vote Trump, but still blue everything else, to I'm now voting red everything else. The impeachment lost me for, yeah, I'm now voting Republican down the board. Get the corrupt people out of the Congress. They don't care. They're just hyper partisanship. Get rid of them. And I personally think that some of them, like Schiff, should be arrested for corruption. He should be impeached, arrested, whatever. He's as corrupt as he can get. Um, and then, so already I was at the impeachment. So the beginning of the year in January, I was already very likely to vote only Republican on this upcoming election. But I wasn't locked in yet. Stuff could still happen. And then the coronavirus happened. And I gotta say, that's even more in Trump's favor. I know all the Democrats like, what Trump did so poorly. It's like, yeah, Trump did do poorly. Democrats did worse. Trump's response, he responded early enough. He responded at the end of January. And his response is, well, we don't have information, so let's take all the precautions of the last uh, uh, coronavirus to come out of China, which was SARS, and okay, we'll lock down the country and assume that's enough. And then in March, when it started actually being in Europe, he started actually stepping up a bit more. And people's like, oh, we should have been doing this and this and this. Well, given on the information we had, what he was doing in February was enough. Because China was saying no human to human transmission. The World Health Organization was saying no human to human transmission. It wasn't until we actually got the truth in March that we could have done anything. And he started taking it seriously. And if you want to say, oh, we didn't have the testing equipment or the mask, it's like, well, because they got sent to China over Obama's administration. So I'm not going to hold that against Trump. And and then the economy collapsed, and the Democrats had this, or it's actually even before then. It's the Democrats didn't actually start taking it seriously until like April. Trump was starting early and trying to do the bare minimum to contain it and not and minimize the harm to the economy. The Democrats, it's like, well, you're nothing. You're trying to distract the country from how terrible you are. This is nothing. And it's like, oh shit, this is actually serious. We need to lock everything down, completely destroy the economy, and this is all your fault, Trump. It's like, no, it's the Democrats' fault. I wholly put on the Democrats because they were obstructing. They were saying they weren't taking it seriously, and especially it's like, okay, Andrew Cuomo, one of the major entry points for into the U.S. is New York, and well, his you had early April of Bill de Blasio saying, "Oh, hey, social distancing means going out and seeing a show, riding the subway and seeing a show." No, it's I'm not going to give that to the Democrats. Trump did a bad response, but his response is still far better than the Democrats. So I'm going to give this point to Trump. And then we have the oh hey, the Democrats of we're going to completely destroy the economy and blame Trump. It's like no, it's again, no one in their right mind should be blaming Trump for the current economy. It's either you blame the virus or you blame the Democrats who decided it went from okay, we need to uh, shut things down a little bit so that the hospitals aren't overrun, which I agree. When we saw in Italy, when their hospitals got overrun, their death rate skyrocketed. But when we got to the point where it's like, okay, our hospitals are not being overrun. In fact, we're actually closing hospitals for not having enough people. The Democrats are always like, no, 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 no. It's no longer about stopping overrunning the hospitals. Now it's we have to wait for a cure. So we have to keep it slow until either disease magically goes away, which it might never do, or we get a cure, which we might never have. On top of that, really enforcing almost fascistic behaviors, or at the very least, very authoritarian in the matter of your rights don't matter, you will do what I say, or else. And I definitely 100% do not approve of this. So this is, again, massive point in favor of the Republicans. Trump has tried to get us out of Syria. I approve. Democrats blocked it. Actually, I think and they sort of criticized him. It's like, how dare he try to get us out of Middle East? We want more war. And then he also tried to get us out of Afghanistan and got blocked by both parties, but more the Democrats than the Republicans. But I'm giving that a point into favor of Trump rather than the Republican Party, but still, more reason to vote for Trump. And then May came around, and we have the response between regarding the protests slash riots and how the two parties have actually handled this. At this point, there is not a single thing Trump can do that will make me vote Joe Biden. Not a single thing I can imagine that would make me vote for Joe Biden. So think about that for a moment. In 1 year's time, I went from I might I voted might be voting for a Republican for the first time in my life, depending on how things go, to now there is nothing the Republicans can do that would make me vote Democrat. It's I am just absolutely through with the party. It is actually to the point I actively hate the Democratic Party. This is probably the first thing I have ever hated. But yeah, I actively hate the Democratic Party. I feel the party should be disbanded. Like, I think it's like if the election comes up and 90% of the Democratic seats up for grabs are all lost, I do not think that would be going far enough. I would not care. I do not think the party should pretty much crash and burn and be restarted to something with a sense of order, a semblance of actual decency, because they don't care about the people. They care about power and power over you. And when you look at the history of the things, it's like, no, they have never cared about the people. They never cared about minorities or whatnot. They care about doing token gestures to give a semblance that they are on your side while they try and get more power. And I am 100% against that. And so, yeah, like I said, you're getting someone who 2004, every election from 2004 to 2018 bloated blue across the board. And in the span of the year is now going to the Democratic Party should burn. Not literally, but every single Democrat, state level, national level, local level, they should be kicked out. They should just be gone. Anyway, that's my opinion. That is effectively why I'm going to be voting what I'm going. There might be another few things in one direction or the other. I will say the only real reservation I have about Trump is he does not take a good enough response regarding the environment. I think the making sure that the environment is handled is important, but the Green New Deal that the Democrats are posing is not pro-environment; it's pro-socialism, and I don't agree with socialism. It is a concept that works on paper but not in practice. Despite what they say, it doesn't work. See Cuba, see Russia, see Venezuela. All these countries that impose socialism, or see East Germany. Technically, even Nazi Germany was socialist. They were the Nationalist Socialist Party of Germany. Socialism doesn't work. Anyway, before I ramble on too much more, I'm Miguel Foze. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.